So in this video, I'm going to be giving my rankings of the 9 films in the Fast and the Furious franchise. The 9th film in the series, F9 The Fast Saga, has just come out, and also it's the franchise's 20th anniversary this year. So yeah, there couldn't be a more perfect time to do this video. When it comes to the ordering in this ranking, I'm going to go in order of worst to best based on my personal preference. So with all that in mind, I hope you enjoy. Too Fast, Too Furious from 2003. For me, this is the least memorable Fast and Furious film. This one drops sort of the whole big sort of family dynamic and instead goes with sort of like a buddy cop kind of film between Brian and Roman. Roman isn't quite as comedically used in this film as he is in the later installments. Overall, the action and the racing, they're sort of okay at best, but there's nothing to really make it stand out from the other Fast and Furious movies, which is why I have it last on this list. The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift from 2006. This continues to be a very weird installment in the franchise, given how it's kind of disconnected from the other films, and how it doesn't feature one of the franchise's main characters, Brian or Dom, as lead characters in this film. Overall, as a movie, it's pretty meh. I do like the Tokyo setting, and some of the racing is pretty decent, and overall as a movie, it has been made better throughout the years, how they've connected it to the other films, how they've used Han's character, and how it connected to Furious 7 9 years after the movie originally released in 2006. The Fate of the Furious from 2017. Right off the bat, that's a pretty silly title that doesn't make much sense in the overall context of the film and how the film plays out. This one for me was a step back from the installments that immediately preceded it. The story was too grandiose and just big for its own good. The action took a step back. Scenes like the whole big remote control car scene throughout New York were just like way too much and just not fun to watch. Really, the best thing this movie had going for it was its villain, played by Charlize Theron, her villain Cypher, who was a really good villain, and she was just ruthless, and she is part of the film's sort of standout scene, sort of the death of Elena, which that was just sort of like a whoa kind of scene and a standout scene amongst the franchise for sure. The Fast and the Furious from 2001. This is the 20th anniversary of this film, the original film in the franchise that started the whole Fast Saga. I wouldn't call anything in this movie great, and it's definitely not a great movie, but it's definitely solid in mostly everything that's trying to do, telling a pretty good undercover cop story and some good character dynamics and how Brian has to gain the trust of Toretto and his family. And the film really sort of stands out now, showing how far the franchise has come from a simple street racing movie to sort of the big over-the-top grandiose franchise that it is now. Fast and Furious from 2009. The original's title, just without the does. This one is the 4th one in the franchise, and for this one, they brought the main players from the original film back after they were mostly missing from the previous 2 installments of the franchise. For this one, the plot and storytelling are on sort of the meh side, centers around a drug cartel and Dom wanting revenge for Letty's quote-unquote death. Yeah, that stuff isn't the best part of the movie. What made the movie stand out was that the racing in the film was just phenomenal. This was the last Fast and Furious film to really be mostly about racing and wasn't sort of the over-the-top stuff that we got in the later installments. For this one, the way the racing is done is just tremendous. The opening truck heist, the sort of street races you get throughout the film, the ending sort of like mine chase. The racing was really exhilarating in this film. It was really grounded and it was really enjoyable. And overall, it made it sort of a good Fast and Furious installment before the franchise started to make the transition in the next installments that followed it. F9 The Fast Saga, the newest film from 2021. You know, the subtitle for this one is The Fast Saga. And when you see the film, you really see how that subtitle comes into play. Because when you watch the film and you see how big the film universe they've built is now, the story setups they're able to do, the callbacks to other films, characters meeting each other for the first time, the way they've taken what was really sort of like a ho-hum, mediocre kind of film like Tokyo Drift and made it the centerpiece of a whole big saga. You know, the film, what it reminded me of was Infinity War. In fact, this film was very similar to Infinity War when it came to the structure. Like that film, F9 splits apart the team on distinct separate missions contributing to the overall main mission that they're trying to accomplish. That actually ended up being sort of the main problem with this film was the middle portion, where in the middle portion of this film there wasn't a whole lot of action going on. It definitely did slow down and there was just too much location jumping on, and that's what really hurt sort of that middle portion. What helped was the fact that the film was much better directed than the previous installment, The Fate of the Furious. This This film sees the return of director Justin Lin, the director of parts 3, 4, 5, and 6. And when it comes to these films, he just gets it. He's got an amazing eye for action, being able to properly balance the car chases, stunts, destruction, and overall choreography seamlessly. And this one, he took his bank vault chase at the end of Fast 5 and really took it to a whole nother level with the amount of destruction and visual chaos that was able to be done with the new gimmick that was introduced in this one. He also handles the whole team and family dynamics very well, to where the reason the series has survived this long and worked is because we're following characters that we still do like following, and we really like the characters and whole character dynamics and family dynamics that are going on. On the surface level, the whole gimmick of Dom having sort of like an evil brother can seem a bit too cliche. That's how it came across in the trailer. But when you watch the film, actually a whole lot of backstory and flashbacks were surprisingly given to it, to where it actually did work and didn't seem as goofy as it did in the trailer. And of course, there is the space scene. Wow. Yep. They actually went there. Hobbs Shaw from 2019. I don't know if this counts as an official Fast and Furious film because it's a spin-off, so that's why I have the 0.5 there. Overall, this one mostly plays on the dynamic between Hobbs and Shaw, the tension that they had in the previous two films and the tension they have in this one. It's really fun and it really gives the film its juice, and I really like the other character additions they made to this one with Shaw's sister and then the villain played by Idris Elba. They were both really good and gave the film a nice set of main characters. The action in the film is very well done. It's a good mix of actual like car chases and hand-to-hand combat scenes. Overall, I like what Hobbs and Shaw brought to the table, but for whatever reason, I've always felt like the movie is about maybe like 15 minutes too long. You know, I've always felt that way every time I watch the movie. At some point, it does become sort of like action overload, but overall, I did mostly like what Hobbs and Shaw brought to the table. Fast 5 from 2011. Credited as the film that was the start of the transition of the Fast and the Furious franchise. This was very different from the previous 4 films, which were street-level race war type films. This movie was just a straight-up heist film. And even though it's called Fast 5, the film actually does slow down in the middle portion quite a bit to show Dom, Brian, and the others actually planning out the heist. At times, it gets a little too slow to where you actually do miss the elements from the other films, mainly the street racing. What makes up for that is the fact that this film introduced Hobbs, who would prove to be a worthwhile addition to the franchise. You get to see the team dynamics when it came to characters returning from parts 2, 3, and 4 to contribute to the overall team and family effort. And more importantly, this was the film that took the series action to a whole nother level. That credit primarily goes to the bank vault chase scene, which is one of the best non-CGI over-the-top action sequences you'll ever see in a film. It just really takes the film to a whole nother level and really does make the movie. Furious 7 from 2015. Furious 7 continued the saga's positive review renaissance it was enjoying, starting with Fast 5, as it delivered another well-done effort with its characters, villains, and creative action. There was also an obvious emotional punch behind the film, because the film was a goodbye to Brian O'Connor's character due to Paul Walker's death. And I remember thinking before the movie came out and watching it just how all that stuff was going to be handled. And the way they weaved it into the story was just seamless. And the ending with the whole goodbye to Brian, tribute to Paul Walker, and the amazing song that goes with the scene, just beautiful stuff. Fast and Furious 6 from 2013. Whereas Fast 5 was sort of the start of the transition of the franchise, this film is the full-on transition of the franchise to a big global, larger-than-life espionage, over-the-top action kind of films. And God bless it for it, because it's the film that really did establish a new winning formula for what people expect and want from their Fast and Furious films now. So you get your action, you get your comedy, your character and family dynamics, and just enough of an emotional hook to sort of carry you throughout the film, with this film's emotional hook being Dom going after Letty. And the action, of course, is where the film really does shine. And this movie's sort of main action sequence, golden action sequence, is the plane chase at the end, which is just an amazing sequence that's got just so many levels to it, with the sort of car chases that go on around the plane, the fight scenes that go on in the plane, the actual taking down and crashing of the plane. It's just an amazing sequence and part of so many other great elements in this movie, to why I currently have it as the best film in the Fast and Furious franchise so far. So there you have it with my ranking of all 9 films, well technically 10 films, in the Fast and the Furious franchise. After Fast 9 and them going into space, I do wonder what's sort of next for the franchise. I mean, they say they're filming parts 10 and 11 back to back, but after going into space, it's all I'm like, man, what can they do now to top things? The only stuff I can think of is maybe doing time travel, sort of Back to the Future style, or maybe finally doing that crossover with Jurassic World. Whatever happens, when they eventually get to the last film of the franchise, they need to call it The Last of the Furious, just because that would be a major missed opportunity. But there you go with my ranking for all the films. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching.